Hello, friends. It's time. I thought I would make this short video to say directly goodbye. Farewell. Godspeed, really. So thank you for being here with me so I can share. And the most important thing I want to share at the beginning is thank you. I have more thank yous than I can count. So let me use these notes to remember. I want to say thank you first for your welcome to me and to Allison. We felt it from the first Sunday. It was 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. We felt that welcome from the first time we came, and I've felt it throughout my ministry with you. Thank you. I thank you for your housing support. I had 14 moves in 15 months before the final one to come home because of COVID. Thank you for those of you, all of you, each one of you who extended a place in your homes so that I had a place to stay, to do my ministry. And thank you for connecting with me at this distance, which is safer for all of us. I want to say thank you to all of you who sent cards and prayers. They came throughout my ministry, cards of welcome as well as cards of thank you that I'm still receiving, cards for the holidays, cards of concern for those in my family who went through COVID and are recovering now. I can't say thank you enough to the staff of University Congregational. I've loved being part of the team. The staff who take care of our building, the staff who take care of the office, the staff who bring programs, my colleagues, a deep thank you. Thank you to the search teams, the search team who discerned that I might be the right bridge minister for University Congregational. It has certainly felt that way to me over time. It seems so now. Thank you for your work and discernment so that we could both see that this was the right time for me to be with you. And thank you to the search team who's found Pastor Steve. Thank you for your dedicated work in difficult circumstances. But I thank you because this is a service to the church. This is the proper way, the process. It's time. And I look forward to hearing over the months and years the stories of ministry that you will do with Pastor Steve. Because of you, because of my time at University Congregational, I have a renewed commitment to and learnings about racial justice, racial equity, racial awareness. I've served with colleagues of color before. I've been in situations where it was more than just white folks. And yet through this time, this particular turn, maybe my journey, time of history, the particular blend of people, I deepened that awareness, and it's had me come into an ever deeper commitment to learning, understanding my own whiteness and the whiteness culture that I participate in, and how that needs to be healed, can be healed, how I can see what's happening right in front of me in the moment that needs to be redirected, that can be changed and healed. Because of University Congregational, I was able to make a transition in my own ministry. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I was able to learn about how a big church functions. I talked about that with the interview team. I've mentioned it to a few of you. My entire life, both growing up in the church and serving the church as an ordained minister, has been in relatively small churches. 350 members my first, but smaller from there on out. I went from preaching sometimes to a group of 17 at one of my churches, to a group of 50 at my last church, to a group of 250 at this church. That's been a good learning experience, as well as learning what it takes to be in a much larger group than I've been in, to be church together when you have 700 members. And I take away with me more memories than I can mention here. Memories of being with the youth on a service trip. Memories of skiing in the mountains of Washington. Memories of leading with my wife the senior retreat one year. So many memories of being in worship, being in moments with many of you one-on-one. Many memories that I will cherish. What's next for University Church? Well, of course, Pastor Steve for sure. I'm excited that he begins very shortly in February, and we'll be in the Seattle area hopefully by March. But what's next is for you to continue on the path that you've been on. A lot of great work was done by the Futures Task Force. So those of you in leadership and those of you leaning in, make sure to be familiar with that report and the reports that came out after the Futures Task Force. Reports that talked about the way that church is changing in its relationship with society profoundly. And you can continue to live into this future by continuing things that you already do. Continuing to have great music, great worship life, to have commitments to earth care and anti-racism, social justice. But part of what's emerging in the future again is what's called an age of the Spirit. People seek a vital spiritual life. They seek to understand what vital spiritual practice is, what it looks like. Help them, help each other discover it. When I was ordained so many years ago in Denver, when I was installed rather, at that installation service, one of the members of the church said, "We need bread and roses." They needed the bread of social justice, which they still pursue. They needed that solidness of the call of the gospel. But they also needed roses. They needed beauty. They needed to know God's love and the Spirit that sustains in that long arc of seeking the beloved community. Don't forget bread, for sure, but the roses as well. What's next for me? Well, at some level I could say, who knows? Spirit has guided me so many times in new ways. I have made plans and then life has unfolded in different ways. So at this age, I try to be humble with that. Try to remember things can always change. Spirit keeps moving. But I can tell you that one thing that's happening is my wife and I are beginning an interspiritual project, you might call it, a ministry. It's a network, a resource. It may even become a community that is able to meet online and sometimes in person. It's meant for people who are seeking a spiritual community, for whom the conventional church just doesn't fit for them, and they need something else. We seek a deep, transformative practice with those people who come to us. We seek to heal that which has been broken apart. That's why we called it the Sanctuary for Sacred Union. And so we'll see what Spirit will have for my wife and I. We love working together. It's new for us to start anew, but this is where Spirit's calling. And so we are hearing it and saying yes. Finally, my friends, in addition to thank you again, just want to share that in a recent, perhaps very deep, unusually deep, I would say, prayer vision. Sometimes, like many of you, I try to go into prayer and I'm very distracted, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and sometimes there's a deep, deep movement into the deeper layers. In that moment, I came to sense being near the presence of God as if emanating from a particular spot, almost like the throne that we hear about in Revelation. And the vision of that, the experience of that was powerful. It shall not leave me. I just want to reflect back to you that blessing, the benediction, to keep in touch with that love that is so powerful. It moves right past all that divides us. Thank you, my friends, Farewell, Godspeed. I'm grateful.